All right, we are here with another panelist from the panel yesterday pertaining to visions from the field, Adonis Torres. We were just going to ask him about his program and just get a little bit information about what he's up to and what he's been doing. So will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your program and the work you do?
Well, I've been working with the Strong Beginnings Padres Fuertes initiative for about a year and a half now, coming from Detroit to Grand Rapids, Michigan, working with predominantly Latino fathers, building up their skill sets, working with them on infant mortality issues, breastfeeding support, early literacy, communication with their partner, and that's about the scope of what we're doing.
Excellent. And can you tell us about any challenges that you see in doing this work and then how your organization might address those challenges?
In the state of Michigan, any fathers that are undocumented cannot access a license. That's a huge barrier for a lot of our fathers when you're looking at transportation to schools to engage with their students that they have in the school system. And when you're talking about their ability to go to health care, their ability to just travel without undue amounts of stress. So that's a huge challenge that we've been facing. We've been trying to do everything that we can to advocate for this law to be changed, maybe for something like a state ID instead of a license, but just working with law enforcement, working with civic institutions, working with churches to really engage and come to a solution for our undocumented community. There's a huge issue, but it does affect infant mortality, which is the base of our program. So when you're working with children 0 to 2, and when you acknowledge the fact that Michigan has the #1 infant mortality rate for the Latino population, something has to be done, and we're trying to engage in any way that we can to affect that.
That's great. It sounds like very meaningful work. What is a strengths that you might build upon in the community or with your organization and the work that you do?
Well, the community of Grand Rapids is very intentional. And we've done things like develop a Latino network that deals with giving skill sets to men from the lowest level of education to the highest level of education, making sure that they have access to transportation, making sure that they have access to housing, to workforce development. So we have men that have engaged, mentored, consulted with different men so that we're able to develop that. So the foundations of social determinants are crucial for our men. So when you're looking at having that network that you can draw from, that builds housing, that builds having a job or workforce development. So we engage in that way, and that's one of the strengths that we have as a community.
That's wonderful. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself and what draws you personally to this work.
So I worked in Detroit for a very long time in education, and I worked with after-school programming. But you also run into the fact that, man, if I could have only engaged with you or talked to you or taught you at an earlier stage, there's no earlier stage than 0. So when you're talking about Strong Beginnings and a National Healthy Start program that works with pregnant mothers, with fathers, and engaging them at the earliest points possible, I think that we're able to see gains further in their education and the infant mortality rate dropping. We have a great measure where for our program we have lower results than for the state. So that's what really drew me. The fact that the Latino population is growing, we need to do this work, we need to engage in this work, and we really need to affect everything that we've been talking about during the conference.
That's great. And I want to go back to that a little bit in terms of working with the Latino community. What can the whole fatherhood field learn from the Latino community and the work that you do in the Latino community?
Being intentional. Making sure that you're really engaging with people, that the trust is built with these populations, that you have people that are engaging, that speak the language, that know the culture, because that's the way that you're really going to be able to affect outcomes. If a father doesn't trust you and if a father doesn't think that you're being genuine, they're not going to engage. So at the foundational level, when you're building a scaffolding for a father, make sure that they can trust what it is that you're saying and that you're intentional in the information and the education that you're providing.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, just thank you so much for the opportunity, and hopefully we'll get to engage more.
Excellent. Thank you.